Online 3D printing platforms have made ordering parts faster than ever, but most of them work as middlemen. They connect you to a network of machines that don't own or control. For companies that need volume, consistency, and reliable post-processing, that model has real limits. My good friend is telling me that L3AD is taking a different approach. The company operates its own fleet of over 800 printers and handles a full production workflow in-house, from printing through to finishing and varnishing. At TCT Asia 2026, they're showcasing what that integrated model looks like in practice, with parts ranging from flexible TPU components to large-format polypropylene structures. I spoke with Francesco Spinoglio, General Manager, to understand how L3AD is positioning itself in an increasingly competitive market. Hey Francesco!
Hi Elliot,
Good to talk to you today.
thank you, me too.
L3AD mostly operates its own machines rather than working solely through a partner network. What's the idea behind that model?
L3AD is a manufacturing digital platform specializing in 3D printing solution with a manufacturing structure of more than 800 printers, SLA, SLS and mainly FDM, both in Europe and mainly in China. Beside the 3D printers, we also have our own filament machines, and also we develop our own formulation for materials.
So obviously you integrate all of the process around 3D printing. What would you say are the main benefits for the end customer?
The main benefit for the customer are, first of all, the scalability that we can offer, which is linked also to the cost efficiency that we have in the factory. So we build L3AD not too much to focus on prototyping, but rather focus on scalability and batch production. This is possible because of our vertical integration within the supply chain. As I said, we develop our own formulation, we have our own filament machines, we have our printers, and also we have post-processing until varnishing process. So this let us have the full control over the whole production and therefore keep the cost under control. And on the other side, we also have fairly high capacity in printing, and so we can let the customer able to scale fast and mainly without compromise the quality of the products. Second of all, also linked with the cost efficiency is definitely a price competitiveness, because we are able to, keeping margin reasonable and offer a good price for the customer. And third, I would put the platform L3AD itself, because, there are so many platforms out there to do 3D printing services. So 1 year ago, when we start to build up L3AD, we really wanted to do something that is close to the request of the customer, but also somehow different from what is in the market. In the platform L3AD, it's not about the instant quote itself. It's more about you can manage the whole workflow. So from the digital file, we have a digital archive with all the file that you can also change the parameter, the material. Then you can track your production. You can track the logistic. You can choose which logistic you want. And even we are able to offer storage. In USA, we have a warehouse. In Europe, we have a warehouse. And in China, we have a warehouse where you can also check and manage all the stock.
So integrating everything is part of your solution, is an important part of this.
Yes, exactly. One of our slogans is, as it were, your own factory, because we want to highlight the fact that you have the control all over the manufacturing flow.
So obviously, I think it's not new to you that you're not the only players. There are some other 3D printing platforms out there. What would you say are your main benefits and what separates you from your competitors?
I think that one competitive aspect that we have is definitely the material development. If I need to pick one, I definitely would pick the PP, polypropylene for FDM printing. Because, the polypropylene, it works really well when you have small objects, but gets really challenged when you want to print bigger dimension object. So medium to large dimension object. But that's exactly what we were able to develop. We developed this material that is able to control the shrinkage, basically, and therefore we can produce medium to big size objects. So yeah, this material, it's quite unique because also it's GRS certificate, because we use an amount of recycled material. It's skin friendly, and it's actually also, since we develop by ourselves, is also have a very competitive price.
And from what I understand, having this integration from the printing to the post-processing, but even the material aspect is what allows you to have this particularity of printing PP at such a large scale volume, because you can store the material and the process, so you're able to control everything basically.
Yes, correct. In fact, also all the scrap that we have for the production, we reinsert in the system, because we redo the filament and we produce again. It's also quite a very sustainable production, the one of the PP.
Obviously, today we're having this conversation at TCT Asia 2026, but we also have to look ahead in the future. So how do you see the on-demand 3D printing market growing in the next few years?
Let me say, I've been in this industry since 2017. With my own experience, I would say I can see that the market is evolving. Before was 3D printing was always labeled like the future of manufacturing. A lot of most like all the traditional production would have been changed to 3D printing. Now, and the direction for the future, I see it much more down to earth, more application driven. I would say less hype, more execution. This direction is exactly aligned with the concept of LEED. At the end of the day, LEED want to be a manufacturing tool that give easier access to the companies to everything concerned the 3D printing production. So companies instead invest millions of euro in printer materials, know-how. They can actually open their own factory within the LEED ecosystem. In fact, one of our slogans is our investment, your production. Because we invested in the technology, you can run the factory.
It is important to stay very serious and look ahead to anticipate what's needed.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Francesco, for talking today, and maybe see you next year to celebrate your 10 years in additive manufacturing.
Yes, thank you very much, Elliot. Thank you to all the 3D Native team.
By combining its own printer fleet with integrated post-processing, LEED is building a manufacturing model that goes well beyond the typical online coding platform. To learn more about LEED's capabilities and services, visit their website. As always, thank you for watching.